Night. I'm your host, Brian Smith, and I am joined by Andrew Johnson. We just got done with the spring game a couple days ago, my friend. It's pretty fun to talk about all the different players, the surprises, the guys that didn't surprise, etc. So welcome to the show. We get to talk about some things and just kind of have our own opinion about it and have a little fun. How you doing?
Yes, glad to be here, buddy.
All right. First off, let's just kind of kick off. Everybody wants to talk about the quarterback situation. And although I've written about it on Inside the Nights and everybody's had their opinion on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and everything, here's my 2 cents. Until otherwise proven, I think the starting quarterback is going to be the one that just came over from Ole Miss, John Rice Plumlee. I think he will play some this year. And I think at some point, because Plumlee runs so much, he'll probably miss a game or two. Keene will be fine. The outlier in this is how they use Thomas Castellanos. He's a little further advanced than I thought, and he's a lot bigger already than I thought.
He looked really good,
at some point, they have to use him somehow. I have no idea what they're going to do.
Right.
He can't just sit.
Yeah.
So
there's no way. But here's my 2 cents, guys. Like I talked about on some of our previous shows, I did think JRP will, edge out Mikey Keene. Not saying they were going to make a decision after the spring game, but man, I think he shut up some of the critics who said he couldn't throw the ball.
Amen.
He showed off he had a strong arm, and made a couple touchdown passes. I think he had 4 touchdown passes. And he caught a tight end in the corner there, showed he had a scramble and a pocket ability. So JRP really impressed. Of course, Mikey Keene looked good. He put on the weight this offseason, but I think he still missed some of those throws that he missed last season. He showed his arm strength still wasn't there. He made that pick 6 on the goal line. So and Thomas Castellanos, like we talked about off air, I think, at the end of the season next year, he might be battling for that QB1 position because of his arm strength and his ability to make guys miss. I like Thomas Castellanos.
I do as well. All right. Let's just do kind of the surprise of the game. First off, I'll let you jump on that. Out of all the players, which 4 players, if you want?
My defensive MVP and a guy that I kind of overlooked heading into the spring game was Landon Woodson. 3 sacks, was very disruptive on the defensive end position. So I liked Landon Woodson, and I'll let Brian get his OG perspective on that. Some of his techniques he showed.
Well, I don't know how much technique involves just shot out of a cannon. His first step helped him more than anything. And there were some busts up front, just so people know that didn't see the spring game. They had like 14 sacks or whatever, but UCF was mixing and matching O-linemen.
Right.
Sam Jackson didn't play as much, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't care if it's the best O-line in the world. When you mix and match, there's going to be line calls that are blown.
Yes, sir.
And Woodson is good anyway, and he took advantage, and so did other guys. UCF's D-line, though, overall, just as a theme, is not only good, it's really good. There won't be a better D-line in the American Athletic Conference this year. And just to put it in perspective, he got 3 sacks.
Yeah.
I still don't believe he's going to be the best lineman. I'm not even sure he's going to be the second best because they're all so good. They'll battle it out. And that's how it is. I'm not even going to try to rank them. You got Tremon, you got Landon, you got KD that just came in, you got Lee Hunter that just came in, you have Ricky Barber coming back, and you have other edge guys, plus the linebackers like Jeremiah and Terrence.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of pressure.
That's depth, man. And contrast to last season when, Kalia Davis went down, they had a little bit of depth issues on that defensive line with Montalvo and stuff. So I think this year is a little different.
Absolutely. Now, when you can start rotating guys, they can stay fresher, and in the fourth quarter, you don't feel like you're wore out. Yeah. It's a big advantage. That's part of football. It's just flat out attrition, even attrition during the game. So I agree with you. The biggest surprise, Landon Woodson.
And big point, and replacing Big Cat Bryant was going to be a big thing heading into this season. And I think Landon Woodson could kind of be that guy. How do you feel about that?
I don't know how they're going to use him all the time. I mean, Big Cat stood up most of the time, but it's the same concept. He's an edge guy. He's probably athletic to do that. KD will do that some.
Josh, maybe.
There's Selascar definitely.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they just have so many guys that are flexible.
Yeah.
That's why they can run 3-3-5, 4-3, 4-2-5, do these different schemes and keep offenses off balance.
Yes, sir.
So that's very, very important. All right, so we both agree D-line is in the right position.
They're in good shape. Yeah, they're definitely in good shape.
Absolutely.
You want to give an offensive MVP? What kind of bounce off?
Go ahead and knock it out, man. What's your offensive guy there? Who you going with?
I predicted Jalen Griffin was going in. Him and Kobe Hudson was going to have that wide receiver.
That's right. I remember you used to talk about that.
And I believe Kobe Hudson came in with that chip on his shoulder. He had 5 catches, 112 yards for 2 scores. I think he showed really good route running skills, and he could create separation. And he showed that he understands the offense. It's kind of hard coming into a new system. So he showed some quality skills. So I like Kobe Hudson. That was my offensive MVP.
Okay, well, that's fine. For me, it was Johnny Richardson, and it's because they could be in 3rd down and 10, and he would get it for it. He averaged 12 yards a carry. That's just absurd.
Yes, sir.
And their offensive line was struggling when he did that. Yeah. He had a couple of runs where he didn't get anything, but he had multiple runs, I believe, of over 30. Yeah. When you can move the chains like that, it puts the defensive coordinator in a really awkward spot. Now, I could have picked, obviously, JRP. I could have picked Hudson. And I could have picked Jalen, all of that. I'm not disqualifying any of it. Yeah. I'm just saying when you can run like that, and again, we both think that JRP will be the quarterback in the fall that starts, it just opens up everything because they have actually legitimate big-time receivers. He's going to be playing against the box with 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah, I think that defensive group I think it'll be the best in the conference and one of the best in the country. When you look at all those guys, they're really deep, man, and all of them are impressive.
But nobody could tackle him. And I know they didn't play all their starters and all that stuff.
Right. But Richardson, like we talked about, man, he looked even more flashier. I mean, he improved with his balance and his control last season. He had that, kind of lose his feet, kind of run too fast and fall over himself. But he looked really good on Saturday.
His foot speed is not normal.
That's crazy.
There were a couple of plays where, to your point, the hole wasn't on the inside zone play. It was stuffed. Yeah. He didn't immediately just bop. He got up close, pressed the line, they came down, and then he would shoot out. Once he gets a half step on somebody,
it's tough.
Yeah, you better have a 10-yard advantage.
Yeah.
And DNs, they're already out of play. They're not involved. He would get it to the outside. Again, when you run spread, if you lose contain against a back or a quarterback, there's nothing but the turf monster to make the tackle.
Right.
So Johnny's not falling over just to fall over. And as you said, good balance. He had good power. He bounces off of guys. That's the other thing. On a couple of his inside runs, there wasn't a lot of space, and he wasn't going to take it to the house. But instead of 2 yards, it was 3, 4, 5. That stuff matters.
Those bowling ball tendencies to bounce off a couple guys to get extra yards.
That's
just to stick on the running backs really quick. We got our Bowsers and we got our Richardsons. But I think Mark Anthony really showed up. He looks really bigger. He put on some weight, more weight than last season. And I think he has that ability to block and catch passes out of the backfield. So just talk about Mark Anthony a little bit. And what do you like about him?
He has a little more patience than he did last year. Similar to Johnny, sometimes he would get it, and then he would kind of go to the line, be up over his feet, and he wouldn't always maximize.
Right.
When he was patient, that's a load. He's 215, 220. And unfortunately for teams that weren't ready for it, if you aren't steadying yourself, that is not going to feel good. He's a downhill running back, but he can also get to the perimeter and he can catch. Remember, he had that 4th down and 9 catch. I think it was the Memphis game or what? I can't remember, East Carolina or whatever it was. What I mean? He's an all-around football player, and he's just in a logjam of good players.
Yes, sir.
And he's waiting his turn doing his job. So good for him. Yeah. And on top of him, the kid that's going to be a sophomore next year, I think Anthony Williams. I mean,
man, and Deontay Marks ran the ball well. Is good. Ran the ball well, strong as well. So they're deep.
They're loaded.
Jordan McDonald ran the ball too. Looks really good, man.
UCF is as deep as any team in the country at running back. Literally any team. So it's hilarious because sometimes it just works out. You expect all that. And then, by the way, Bowser didn't play, and RJ Harvey. They are like 7 deep at running.
We didn't even talk about those 2 guys.
That's what I mean. They, Bowser dressed up to take photos with kids and all of that stuff, but he was a guy that just went out there to take photos. He wasn't there they didn't do anything. And Gus talked about it in the press conference. Hey, we know he's going to the NFL. We're treating him like a pro.
That's fine. That his fans should be okay with that. And RJ
Yeah,
Harvey,
I want him to play in September.
yeah, right. I would exactly, but like we talked about, RJ Harvey's kind of like a Johnny Richardson himself. And once he
Yes,
gets cleared to play, I know you mentioned that maybe they were going to restrain him, but once he gets cleared to play, he'll be offering that speed and that bowling ball kind of aspect as well, and you can line him up in the slot position too.
I think
Running
that
back,
is very true.
running back group deep, yeah.
They'll have to do some two-back stuff in the fall. I mean, that's inevitable just to get more guys on the field. They might even do some direct snap with RJ because he did that in high school at Edgewater. There's all kinds of ways they can make that happen. They'll figure it out. The last point on running back, they're going to be able to use play action so much because of those guys. When you have Jay Flash, Jalen Griffin, Kobe Hudson, don't forget about a certain tight end that transferred from Florida. He's an athlete.
Yeah, we can talk about him.
They've got a lot of stuff. And then they have Ryan O'Keefe, who was their leading receiver last year, and Al Collar is the backup type.
They're loaded.
Yep, skill guys, we're good to go.
The conference is literally wide open for UCF to take it.
Yep, that is very true. That is very true. All right, the one question that we had, and part of it really wasn't answered because, again, they rested some guys. The back seven of the defense, and it's part of the reason things went good, part of the reason things went bad. It was goofy. Obviously, Jaden Fracos had the great pick.
Yeah.
But, he gets tackled right before the goal line or whatever. But he made a great play on the ball. Of course, it's good for the defense. It's bad for the offense. That's part of spring games.
Yeah.
What I found really interesting about it is the following. You're talking about a situation where he'd gotten beaten earlier and he came back and made a play. This defense has a little more resiliency, and we started to see that in the middle of last season.
Good point.
But looking at the defensive backs, just out of the DBs, who would you pick as your kind of your best player? Let's just do DBs because they got a bunch of guys. What were your thoughts about the DBs, man?
Like we talked about in our other shows, they're really deep at defensive back. But Marco Damio, we talked about him a little bit off air. That was kind of my guy or my second defensive MVP. I feel like he can be a Devontae Brown like sidekick. He's a kind of lockdown defender, real lengthy and shifty. He can stick with those speedy receivers. So I like Marco Damio, and he really impressed. I don't know if Brandon Adams played or a couple other guys. Bullard didn't play as well. Yeah, we know those guys are productive, but Marco Damio really impressed.
He was a highly recruited kid out of Houston. He ended up at a JUCO and ended up at Auburn. Then he transferred to UCF. He's got talent. I mean, if you have a guy like that coming off your bench,
man,
good sign.
And Kobe Perry, I know he got banged up. We didn't get to see much of him. I wish we could have seen more, but I think he came back on the field. But he's another guy that'll be able to produce.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now the only real question is, and we didn't get any information about it, coming out of spring is linebacker. We don't, before anybody sends me a message or anything, I have not a clue. Jeremiah didn't play. Terrence didn't play.
I don't even know if John Powell was out there. I seen Quade Mosier.
They played some younger guys and some experienced guys.
But that was it, man. And that's going to be the big question headed into the next season is linebacker.
They had some guys that were, freshmen and sophomores that came in the last couple of years of played and stuff like that. But I just got to have to look at names.
Right. What's that? I said nothing that like popped out to us like, oh, that's going to be a guy that can be, So that's going to be a big question mark.
Now the question beyond all of that is the obvious. What do they do between now and the fall camp, meeting the entire team to get better? Because again, they've positioned themselves well. This is just kind of open-ended. I'll give it to you for whatever you want to say. What would you like to see, whether it's a position, a player, schematically? What do you think UCF could do to improve itself between now and the first game? I believe it's South Carolina State they play on the 1st of September. What do they need to do to get better, Andrew?
The one thing I think UCF should do is not play around with the quarterback position. I think they should choose a quarterback so they can build around him and shut down some of the questions that's going into the season. I think JRP is your guy. Mikey Keene's a good guy. He can be a guy that can come in and produce if we need him. But I think JRP is your guy that you build around and you have him going into the season with that confidence and that chemistry with his teammates, and then that'll set the team ahead going into the fall.
That's an interesting point. And quarterback play can be very difficult like that.
Yeah.
you're probably going to lose one of the guys no matter what you do. Kids are going to transfer. So I at this point, if I'm a coach, I just don't care anymore.
Yes, sir.
But that's how coaches are, though. They want to try to manipulate. It's just in their blood to be in control, but they're no longer in control of the way the portal is. So I expect either Keene to end up starting or to leave, unless he's told he's definitely going to be the guy after this next year, which they're not going to do. So you got to go through it again next year with Castellanos.
Freshman lingering around too.
So that's just the nature of football. I'm not worried about quarterback because they've got good candidates, just like Gus said. Now, how does it play out? I have no idea. I'm just projecting that JRP, like you, will be the quarterback.
Yes, sir.
I'll leave it at that. For me, I think it's just taking that next step, and I've mentioned this several times. In the secondary, they've got a front seven that we know can get after the quarterback. Now, when those wounded ducks goes up in the air, you got to take it the other direction.
That's a fact.
When you start doing that and making big plays, that also helps the quarterback too. They don't have to do as much. They're going to score.
Yeah.
But when you play teams like Louisville, when you play somebody like SMU, or you play, let's say they play Houston in the AAC title game, whatever it is, against a team that has like talent, you can't give away those free plays, especially if it's a pick six. To me, it's just a pet peeve. As a guy that was a skill player growing up, had good hands, it drove me nuts to see guys jump in front of a pass, have a clear path, and just drop it. They dropped too many picks last year, and there were a couple others they probably should have been in position for. A year older, more experience, more depth. A guy like Brandon Adams is going to grow. To me, the thing they need to do is the defensive secondary needs to be assertive and take advantage of the opportunity that front seven is going to get them. Nobody's blocking Lee Hunter consistently. Nobody's blocking Tremont Morris-Brash consistently. And on and on and on. You're going to get some freebies. You're going to get beat. That's okay. But come back on the next play, and once your chance comes, do not fail to maximize. So
that's a really good point, Brian, and I appreciate that. And let me ask you this. As we know, I could have talked about the linebackers. They definitely need to improve on that. But do you think they could grab another guy? I think they got a couple more scholarships left. Do you think they could get another guy to, fill in that third linebacker position?
I'll take it one step further. They need at least two.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Hey, what sport are we talking about? Football. What happens in football? Guys get hurt.
Yes, sir.
There's no political.
I think that's the most important thing is grabbing at least one guy to help with the linebacker position because somebody's going to get banged up, and somebody's going to get banged up, and you're going to need somebody to come in. So I think that's the most important thing right now.
1,000%. Here's the other part of that. You could also get somebody like Jeremiah is a big guy.
Okay, yeah.
He's 230-ish, but he's towards the end of his career, and he can play either inside spot. Okay.
Physical.
Who's going to replace him? They have guys, they're younger guys. I'm not going to get into the names and all that. They looked okay, but are they on his level yet? I don't know. They got Troy Ford coming in. He'll probably play some next year. They got a couple of guys in Bullard. I like them a lot. They got more coming in, but they're smaller guys. Do they have a true thumper in the middle that can cover? That's really hard to find one of those guys, but that's what they need. It's what everybody needs.
That's a great point.
So if they can at least bridge the gap with a guy that has like 2 years of eligibility, maybe it's not as good as him, back him up this year, then next year he's a start, it would be great.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And then they need at least one other guy because you still just need more bodies.
Yeah.
If you lost your two starters, you could lose 5 games real easy. And you'd hate one position to cause all of that. But it's so thin, it's ridiculous at linebacker because they've only got about 5 or 6 guys who are really playing. 1 or 2's probably not quite ready. A couple of them are coming off injuries. That's a lot of leeway, man. You've got to take at least 1, if not 2.
That's my good point. That was my question. Yeah, I think.
You try. It doesn't mean it will happen. The kids will have to pick you.
You got to try, yeah.
But the other thing is, maybe somebody moves the linebacker. That's always, maybe one of the running backs, maybe one of the safeties. I don't know how you do it.
Right.
But they don't have that 6'2", 225 guy laying around. Linebacker is a very difficult spot to stay healthy anyway. Really hard on shoulders. And you're going to be hitting. So
they lost their top 2 guys, man. That's the biggest question mark. Linebacker going into this
people are ticked about it because not only left, but he went to Florida State, which a lot of UCF fans don't like. But Tatum Bethune leaving was a very big loss.
Yeah.
He's a good football player.
Yes, sir.
And good for him to go to Florida State or whatever. That's fine. That's his business. But it's not good for UCF. And the depth now is a little spindly.
They're really thin.
Yeah. But last note, I'll give it to you. Anything else you want to add coming out of spring about UCF or position, player, coach, or anything else you'd like to add?
Really quick, let me pull back up my notes. One thing I do want to say is I want to give a shout out to UCF and Gus Malzone, for the whole spring game experience, starting off with the QR codes on the jerseys.
That was cool.
The 12-minute quarters, making it a full game experience. And after the game, having players interact with the fans, that was a really good experience in the spring game. And moving forward, I think that'll be really good for UCF. But man, overall, talking about the game, really impressed with the quarterback play. The running back showed, I think they're the best in the conference. You look down the line, man, big guys, speedy guys. Wide receivers really impressed. Jalen Robinson looked really well. I know he was hurt last season. Really impressive with his full game play. Ryan O'Keefe looked the same, really good. Defensive play was a little bit shaky. They missed a couple plays, but they weren't at full strength. That's a big key point. So overall, I'm really impressed, and I think UCF fans should be too, heading into the fall or that summer fall range. So that was about it.
All right. Well, no, that's a really good summary. Sentiments about the QR code and all that. I mean, they're just unique.
Man. That's unique, bro. You need that. You need those type of things to push the university. The kids see that. Even if it doesn't work the best, I tried on the sidelines, and I'm sure some of you did too, but it didn't work. But still, though, it's just, when they get on the field, they can get those things for the players. That's really impressive. I really like it.
The thing that I liked probably the best is that from year 1 to year 2, and this is common, you don't have to tell the kid where to line up in the huddle, which unities. Everybody has a little more just by going through reps. But I didn't see the discombobulation that still a lot of programs have in year 2.
Yes, sir.
They looked like they knew what they were doing, and it was comfortable. It wasn't forced. And I'm talking about special teams, defense, and offense across the board. That was something I looked at, because if you don't have that right in spring at the end, it's going to hinder you in the fall. So that was a big sticking point for me. And just at the press conference afterwards, I could tell Coach Malzahn, the player, they just seemed relaxed and comfortable.
Different feel.
I mean, you're not fighting where you're supposed to be. You're playing football. Yeah. You're coaching football. And that was the biggest takeaway that I had. Yeah. So
really big jump with the fundamentals. That's a good point, because last year I know they dealt with penalties, and I'm not sure how big they were tracking it during the spring game, but not too many penalties during the spring game. Looked better than last year. They had like 5 offensive false starts, and like one possession. So they looked chemistry was better, and the coaching is really setting in. So it looked good.
Well, with that, I'm going to wrap up here in a second. Hang with me, Andrew. But everybody, look forward to writing about some of this stuff. It's going to be kind of an interesting offseason. We've got a ton of recruiting stuff coming up. They just got a couple of big-time commitments. I got those stories up at Inside the Knights. But also, there's going to be some position analysis that I didn't anticipate I was going to be writing about. We discussed Landon Woodson, et cetera. Yeah. There's some unique players. Yeah. I wrote about Landon right after the game. I'm like, he deserves it.
Yes, sir.
If you produce, I'll write about it. Heck yeah.
There's going to be more guys like that pop out, that didn't impress us in the spring game.
Sure.
That's going to show up during closer towards the fall. So
that's why college football is so much fun, man. You just don't know when somebody's going to surprise. I didn't have any clue Landon was go out and play that great.
I try to keep it light, but then, man, we overlooked him a little bit. I'm sorry about that, Landon.
100%.
Sorry about that, brother.
Yeah, so he earned it. But anyway, for Andrew Johnson, I'm Brian Smith. Everybody be good. Have a safe day. Thank you very much.
Sir.